Hey guys, welcome back to the build and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to pick up on this 2011 RZR 800. So last time we left off, we finished the rear suspension, we done that exhaust. So today I'm going to go ahead and do the fluids in the back and the front. I ordered the seals, they should be here in time. We're going to put the spark plugs in. We'll go ahead and route the breather hoses up. And then we're going to remove some broken bolts, and hopefully today we can go ahead and throw this top cage back on and get those bolts out. And then we can start putting the skid pans back on, start putting this baby back together. So it won't be very long until it's back on the road. And then at that point, I'm going to sell it. So let's go ahead and get started with removing some broken bolts. So we're going to start with these bolts, like I said, to do the cage. You can see there's a little bit sticking out of it. The idea is I got tons of old bolts laying around. This one's got a nice shank to it. What I'm going to do is put it right on there and weld along it and see if we can't back it out. Of course, there's many ways to do it. You can drill, put an extractor in, but when you got a welder and a bunch of old bolts, this is probably the easiest way that I know how to do it. Let's go ahead and get it cleaned up, get them welded on, and see how it goes. All right, so welding the bolt didn't work. I welded a nut to it. It also didn't work. Just keeps twisting off the bolts. As you see, they're now flush. So I actually am going to have to drill these out and extract them. So let me get down to that. Drilled the bolts, or drilled those holes out. I had to run a tap back down through them. I ended up doing a 3/8 by 24 bolt since I had to drill it out a little bit further and hit the threads. But both of those are done. Now we'll go in here and go ahead and replace these spark plugs. Champions is what came in the kit I got. Right there's the part number for them. The gap is 0.035. So I went ahead and gapped these. I'm going to take these out and put these new ones in. Alright guys, spark plugs were changed. You can see they definitely needed it. Wasn't running too bad by the collar on it. Looked like it was running pretty good, but it definitely needed a spark plug change. I also went ahead and cleaned up the clutch cover. Got all the mud and stuff off of it. Went ahead and installed the new seal that goes around the outside. I picked it up from Quad Logic. But there you go, there's your part number. Pretty cheap, came fast on Amazon. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this clutch cover on and just temporarily hook up this vent, because like I said, I think we're gonna try to build a snorkel kit. So we'll go ahead and get that on. Clutch cover's on, the new seal, and then I've just been putting some dielectric grease on the connections. I went ahead and ran the two new hoses here that, like I said, will extend up so I can put them up there with the snorkel. I'm going to run to the parts store and get probably about 8 more feet so I can do this one. And then I went ahead and removed the gas tank. It also has one that I'm going to try to route upwards. But my seals came in for the front diff, where I showed you it's been leaking. Of course, it doesn't show it now where I cleaned it up. But these, let me see if I can get this put out here where you can see it. Right there's your part number from Eastlake. That is the seals that's gonna go on the front. So what I gotta do, I'm just gonna put the one seal in that was leaking. So I'm gonna drain the fluid. I'll have to take that pin back out and remove the drive shaft off of it. And then my plan is just to pull that seal. See if I can get you back in there. Pull that seal out. I'm just gonna put some screws in it. Try to pull it straight out. Pop this one back in over the shaft and fill it up with some oil. And then I'm gonna go ahead and grease the front end, all the grease fittings, and then the front end suspension is done. Go back, change all the fluids back here, grease this rear end, and it's done. It's ready to start putting the body back on. So let's get to it. All right guys, here's the old seal. I ended up knocking around to break the seal loose around the edge, and then I had to drill into it a little bit to get a grip to be able to pull it out. You just want to be super careful if you do drill in there like I did, because there is a bearing right behind it, and you don't want to go too deep. As soon as you break through, stop, because you'll go through and hit the bearing. But there's the new seal installed. I just got to get the drive shaft back on and put that pin back through. As you can see, I drove it flat with the case, nothing more. And hardest part about this is getting the pin out of the drive shaft. So put that back in, beat that pin back in, and grease the front, and the front end is done. Well, put oil in the diff, then it's done. And then we'll move to the back. So, in case you guys have never changed the fluid in the front of a RZR 800, the drain plug is right there. It's a magnetic Allen head. Let's see, it is a 5/16 Allen. And then on the side of it is the fill plug, same size, just non-magnetic. All right, so let's get everything back together. I'll show you it together, then we'll start on the back. All right, guys, front end is together, end is greased. Here's my little funnel setup I made with just a hose and a little old funnel to put the grease in to the side. It takes this demand dry fluid. I just went with the Polaris. Like I said, I bought a whole kit, but just held it up. It held about 6-7 ounces. Not very much, just kept filling it until it ran out of the plug. Put it all back together, 10 foot-pounds of torque on the plugs, and it's ready to rock in the front. On suspension wise, now we're gonna go to the back, and we're gonna start off first with the rear differential. So there is your fill plug, and there is your drain plug. So I'm gonna drain it out first, get the fluid in it, and then I'm gonna come back here to the engine, take the filter off, and then the drain plug is right there. Same way with the transaxle. Drain plug's right there. And your fill plug is right there. Same procedure, except this time for the rear diff, I'll be using this angle dry fluid. Same torque on the plugs, and I think this one here, it takes a little bit more. Let's say it takes for some reason I want to say 12 ounces. I have to double check, but we'll go ahead and I'll get all this oil changed, and I'll go ahead and grease all these control arms, and that's a wrap for all the mechanical. Then I'm gonna go ahead and go out and get the cage, bring it back, bolt this rear cage on first, make sure it all looks good, and then move to the bottom and get the broken bolts out so I can put the undercarriage skid plate on, because there's a lot of hard to get to bolts if you have the floor in. So I'll get it in, and then I'll put the floor in, the console, and start my way up on it. I'm gonna save this to last. Like I said, I got some paint work to do here, and then I'm gonna try to build that snorkel kit. But if I can get that on, then I can get this painted, the dash painted, put it back on, put all this front end together, get that bumper painted, get the winch lined out, then I can finish doing the wiring for the fan and flush that radiator. So let's go ahead and keep going. All right, guys, one thing I want to mention while I was in here doing this, on a RZR 800, this is for your transmission, this is your fill. And I showed this earlier, but there's this other plug that's right here. That is the transfer case full. So up here, the plug I showed you earlier, that is your transfer case fill. You can see it back in there, this big plug. I will fill up it until it runs out here, then I'll stop and put those plugs in. Now, this is still the this is a transmission fill, and there is no sight glass plug for it. So you just fill it up until it comes out. And then of course on the engine oil, you fill it through the dipstick. It just holds 2 quarts. That's what's supplied. So I just wanted to stop and show you that and let you know before you start adding your fluids in. And plus, to get the engine oil plug out, for me it was a 6mm Allen, of course. So just wanted give you that update. All right, guys, I went out back, got the cage, went ahead and bolted it back on. Had to get one new bolt, like I said in a past video, it was missing. So now it's bolted on. I do got some bad news, is on the transfer case plug, it looks like the previous owner had stripped it out. So I'm gonna have to, I hope to get a helicoil, go back in and helicoil in the transfer case, get that back so I can gain my threads back. I hope that's all I gotta do. If not, I'm gonna have to tap it and get a bigger bolt, or maybe they make an oversized plug. So as the last fluid, it's a transfer case, and it was gonna be good to roll out, but this is where I got to at this point. What I'm gonna do is stop here, clean up, get everything, go to the parts store, and get the lines. So thank you guys for joining me for this episode. In the next one, I hope that we can get that transfer case plug, the helicoil put back in, and all the fluids filled. And then on the next video, I want to go ahead and get these skid pans on and get that bolted on. Then I can start putting the floor in, and we can start building our way up from there and work our way forward. Off-camera stuff that I may do is paint this front bumper. As in, I cleaned it previously, so I have to scuff it down and shoot it with some black VHD. And I'll probably get the bolts that are broke off in the undercarriage. I'll go ahead and get those off. But that's all stuff I'll do off camera, pretty straightforward. So please hit that like and subscribe button, hit that bell for the notifications, and go on Instagram and follow me at Mustang Jackson 67 so we can build this channel and do more. So until next time, let's keep building.